Hello, everybody. Welcome back to DLT from week 2. Thanks for joining us. All right, let's dive into a little review of last week. We're going to talk about optimizing the diet for a couple more weeks before we dive into intermittent fasting. I just want to make sure you're ready to go and you have all the tools you need to fast and fast well. So we'll continue with the diet today. And then if you have any success from the past week, let us know in the chat box. We talked a lot about transitioning to whole foods. That was the main goal of last week. And I had somebody reach out about beans being on the list. I totally left those off, I guess, which is funny because I'm like 80% vegetarian, so I eat a lot of beans. But yes, beans are a protein source that you can utilize. They are a starchier protein source, but if you're vegetarian, it really doesn't. You got to have it. You got to have the protein. So utilize beans. Also, just think it's really great to vary your protein source. So going from red meat to poultry to seafood to eggs to tempeh, tofu, and beans, using all of those. I'm sure there are more. So if there's anything else on the plate, I'm going to send y'all the updated one. But while I couldn't like access my old plate that I was working on, so I had to redo the whole thing. But I like this one a little bit better. So I'll send it out to you. It breaks down the non-starchy vegetables, like the ideas. I'm sure there's more. We want to fill up most of our plate with non-starchy veggies, some source of protein, and then healthy fats are on here as well. Avocado, oils, olives, nuts, seeds. And then I put in moderation our starchy veggies, our fruit, and our full fat dairy. So the last plate said sparingly. And I like in moderation just a little bit better. It's probably still like not crystal clear, but I want you to try to make your own decisions around your food intake. I don't want to get like too specific with it, but for example, if I eat like a sweet potato, I'll eat like half of a sweet potato. And I make sure that I'm doing it with um, some other fat or protein. So I've like been on a really big full fat Greek yogurt or just full fat yogurt with a sweet potato and adding peanut butter. And it's like so life giving. That's one of my meals that I eat almost every day. I roast sweet potatoes. You cut them in half, you put them face down on a sheet pan, roast them in olive oil, cinnamon, and salt. And they get so good, so good. So we'll do 2 sweet potatoes a week, and I half them, so I have 4 halves, and then I'll do that with the full fat dairy and some peanut butter, and I'll even throw like flaxseed on top too for even more fat. So just a meal idea if you need one. I get addicted to things and like that's all I want to eat for weeks at a time, which makes lunch a lot easier. But that's been my lunch lately with a side of like raw veggies and hummus. So I have all that for lunch.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is Amy Shannon.
Hey.
I'm super interested in food choices. Real quick, you said that was half a sweet potato face down, olive oil, cinnamon.
And salt.
That's it.
That's it. I roast it at like 425 for about 30 minutes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
But putting that sweet potato like face down gets the top of it really like caramelized and it's so yummy. You don't even, I mean, like growing up in the South, we always had to have sugar on our sweet potatoes. You really don't even need it, especially once you get most of the sugar out of your diet. That's going to taste amazing to you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. And then I put rarely at the bottom sugar, just straight sugars, sweeteners. Basically, if it tastes sweet, it's typically going to have a sweetener in it. You got to look at the ingredient list and just make sure. But we're trying to stay away from most packaged processed foods. So if you do that, you will stay away from most sweeteners, especially those hidden ones. And then processed meat and refined grains I put on rarely as well. Any questions on the sweeteners? Okay. Fluids I included as well, water, coffee, tea, preferably black. But I will talk about some fat that you can add to your coffee and tea when you get into fasting. Um, you can do things like heavy whipping cream or half and half, or I personally like unsweetened vanilla almond milk in mine. And those things can help during your fast, but we definitely do not want any sugars. We don't want the creamers that come with flavors and all types of other things. We don't want those. And I know they're hard to work out. So next week we're going to talk even more on sweeteners, like the whole week is on sweeteners, but so I'll give you more ideas. But ideally, we're going to be working those out. Just using fat in our coffee or tea, or just having them plain Jane. All right. Any questions about the plate? All natural peanut butter without added sugar or regular peanut butter in your yogurt? Okay, so oops. You have to look at your peanut butter. It's so tricky. They're so tricky with our food. Unsweetened peanut butter, and they have it. I buy the Kroger brand, and if you look at, just turn over the ingredient list and check it out, it's going to say peanuts and salt. Now, I just cannot do peanut butter without salt. So it's peanuts and salt. They have some that are just peanuts. And it's going to have the oil separation because it doesn't have all the added stuff to it, but it's okay. We can stir our peanut butter. My husband got so mad like the first couple of years I changed over to it because you're used to like that creamy, like thick peanut butter, but that's not natural. If you go to just peanuts and salt, there's a little separation, but once you stir it one good time, you're fine for the rest of the jar's life. Um, but yes, good question on the peanut butter. Definitely without the added sugar. And it tastes different, but it tastes better. I've gone to my parents' house where they have the peanut butter with sugar in it, and it's like, it's just gross when you go back to it. It's just not good, but it's funny the things that we get used to. All right. Last week, also, I talked about when you eat. I talked about how when we eat, our fat storage turns on. So within a 12-hour eating window, our insulin is going up when we eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's going to dip down a little bit and go into fat burning in between our meals. But I want to show you something else. This week's goal is to eat less often. Now, I'm not asking you to fast yet, but I would like you to knock out the snacks. So just a baby step towards fasting this week. Yes, we still need whole foods, and that's going to be the main focus throughout, but we also have to get rid of our snacks. Snacks will keep your insulin up all day long. So you're not getting any break between your meals to burn off the food that you've eaten. So with increased insulin, increased fat storage, we're going to hold on to basically everything we're putting in our body. Our body is going to use that energy that you're putting in for breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, instead of using any leftover energy that might be on your body stored as body fat. Uh, I'll look at the Jif reduced fat peanut butter. We'll check it out and I'll show you what the label looks like. I'll do that at the end. Okay. So our goal this week is to eat less often. And I do want you to have this simple breakfast, lunch, dinner with whole foods. That's the goal for this week. So no snacking, stick to 3 meals a day. And I want you to implement something called mindful eating with that. So, mindful eating, you can improve your appetite regulation. It can also help prevent the snacking between our meals if we're mindful about how full we're getting when we actually eat a meal. It can minimize dependence on external rules like calories. So, just paying attention to how much food we need based on how we feel versus counting the calories, trying to stick to a certain number. It also increases our body awareness, and it can lead to sustainable weight loss because you're paying more attention to your personal needs versus an external rule like calorie needs. Okay, so you're paying attention to how you feel. You can think of it as a hunger scale of 1 to 10. And ideally, you want to stay in this like 4, 5, 6, 7 range where there's still a little bit of green there. We want to stay away from the 1 to 3. That's where we're so hungry that we're irritable. It's called hangry to most people, starving, dizzy, unable to concentrate. We want to get to a point where we're coming up on our meals and we're starting to feel the beginning signals of hunger. So we're never getting too far past the beginning signals of hunger because we've eaten enough at our previous meal to get us to our next meal. So we're going to be mindful of when we're eating that we're getting comfortably full and satisfied, and we're not getting over here into the very full, overeaten area. We're not getting uncomfortably full where we're stuffed. We're not having to loosen our clothing, and hopefully we're not feeling sick. So we want to stay away from this area and this area and stay between, okay, I'm starting to feel hungry. Oh, great, it's time to eat. Now I'm comfortable. I'm neither hungry or full as I've eaten. That's typically after you come off of a meal. You should be comfortably full and satisfied. And then between meals, you should be neither hungry or full, just like satisfied. And that's a glorious place to be because it's not fun being irritable or dizzy or hangry. It's also not fun being over full. It feels like it takes forever for your body to come back down from something like that. All right. So, paying attention to how we're feeling when we eat our meals. One way we can do this is to use the plating method. And I really like this idea of bringing all the food you want to eat onto your plate or the table around your plate. Like you could even like do family style if you wanted to, and only starting to eat when you are sitting in front of your plate. So it will take out the ability to eat as you're cooking, eat while you're walking around, eating in your car, eating while you're working, standing in front of the pantry, or watching TV. You're at a table with your plate and you're being very mindful of, okay, it's time to eat, and you're going to be able to pay attention to your cues of getting full and knowing when you're satisfied. So plating is helpful for mindful eating. It's going to eliminate mindless eating on the go, mindless grazing, and snacking, and just bring more mindfulness to each meal. All right, another rule that goes with plating is you can only eat on your plate. Only eat off of your plate. We're not eating off of our kids' plates. We're not eating off of our spouse's plates or our friends' plates. Maybe they ordered something different at the restaurant, or maybe they're having something different for dinner. My kids always eat something different for dinner. I mean, you probably would never expect that from a nutritionist, but they do. They're 1 and 3, and they're hard to satisfy, these kids. But I'm not eating what they don't eat. It would be easy to do, and I know people do that, and they struggle with it, eating their leftover chicken nuggets or grilled cheese or whatever they ate. Let's only eat off our plate. And then it's going to be super important for us to fill up on fats. Fats, I'm going to go into fats more, but nuts and seeds, avocados, olives and olive oil. These don't sound like very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like something that's really going to fill you up, but they really do. They really fill you up. And this is what's going to take you from getting hungry between meals and needing snacks to feeling totally satisfied between your meals, making sure you're filling up on the fats. All right, so I want to talk about fat fasting. It's a tool to help you get started with regular fasting. It can help you regain control of your appetite and overcome cravings. You can reach fat burning mode faster with fewer side effects by doing the fat fasting. Natural fats have plenty of health benefits. One is giving us a kick in the dietary butt when we've not been eating healthy. So if you're coming from eating a lot of processed foods to just getting into the whole foods, fats are going to be your best friend, healthy fats. So fat fasting is helpful if you're new to low carb, so you're used to having all the bread and stuff to fill you up during the meals. We're going to take the bread out and we're going to put in some healthy fats, and that's going to be what fills you up. When you eat carbs, they fill you up for that moment in time, but they're going to burn out of your system pretty quickly. Fats are going to give you a more balanced energy. You can also use fat fasting. I just want you to take this tool and really put it in your back pocket, and you decide when to use it. But when you're coming back from vacation, if you are experiencing periods of stress when fasting seems impossible, or you just need a reset, or you're just getting started, you can use it however you want. All right, fat fasting, this is how it goes. Fat is the most satiating macronutrient on a neurological level. So our macros are protein, fat, and carbs. That is the most satiating. As you start to eat fat, your body automatically starts letting your brain know you're getting full. Fat signals to the brain the body is full by promoting feelings of satiety. Fat contains more calories per gram compared to carbs or protein, meaning it only takes a small amount of fat to provide a substantial amount of energy. And this is actually this is a good thing, because I just want you to get into the practice of adding fats to your meals, like adding a handful of nuts or adding an avocado or using olive oil on that sweet potato before you roast it. Just doing little things like that can take you a long way. Carbs take longer for satiety cues to kick in. That's why it's so easy to overeat on carbs and then feel totally bloated after you've eaten carbs. So think of like eating a big bowl of pasta. It's so easy to sit there and like eat it away, eat it away, eat away. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so full. That's where you get that kind of sickness full, or you're just eating way too much. Fats immediately start telling your brain, all right, I'm getting full, we're getting satisfied. Carbs take a lot longer to connect to our brain. All right, so foods that you could use to fat fast. Fat fasting, you could use like when you're ready to start fasting, you can use it like the day before to really gear your body up for the next day and prepare it to go into a fast. You could use it intermittently, like I try to get in as much healthy fat into my diet as I possibly can, just like throwing the flaxseed into the yogurt. Doesn't really do much for the yogurt, but that flaxseed is taking me a long way. Okay, things that you could use to fat fast: eggs, salmon, steak, nuts, seeds, avocado, olives, olive oil, butter, mayonnaise, non-starchy vegetables raw with dressing. I actually just started that this week, trying to get my girls to eat some vegetables. They are so bad at vegetables. So I got a ranch seasoning packet mix. And it was a clean one. It was from the market. And I got a thing of sour cream, like full fat sour cream, mixed in the ranch packet, and gave them like a whole platter of vegetables to choose from. And they tried them all, which I was so proud of them. They tried them all. And then my husband, who does not like raw vegetables at all. Anytime I got him out for the girls, he would sit there at the counter and he was eating it too. So great way to like just get something on the table. I think for the girls, I'm trying to get things on the table when they're like driving me crazy for snacks. I'm like, all right, just sit down and you can have some fruit or some veggies before you eat. So trying to get something like that in the fridge can be really helpful to add to your plate. So now, like when I'm making my lunch, I grab some of those raw veggies. I do mine with hummus. You could do it with the ranch dressing mix. You can also cook non-starchy vegetables in fat, and then you can have tea, coffee, and water. All right, so with fat fasting, you're not actually fasting, which is kind of the cool part about it. You get to eat when you're hungry. The foods will probably get boring. That is the point. You're training your body to eat only when you're hungry. So when you're hungry, you could use any of the foods, like from the fat fasting foods, to satisfy your hunger. And then you could eat as much as you want, but your goal is to use fat to drive out the carbohydrate cravings. So unlike carbs, carbs make you crave carbs, sugar makes you crave sugar. Fat's not going to make you crave fat. It's going to satisfy you. So over time, it's going to take less to satiate you and your hunger, and fasting will just come more naturally. So it's a really great tool to use. Here's some meal ideas I just wanted to throw at you so that you can increase your satiety and reduce cravings and fast naturally. I like to include these in like my everyday meals because I want to feel like I don't want to have the cravings. The cravings make things hard. And I like feeling full. So I like to add these type of foods to my daily list. Eggs and avocados, super easy breakfast idea. Veggie omelets you can do. Full fat yogurt. Again, add peanut butter, add almond butter, whatever kind of nut butter you like. Add chia, flax seeds. Add like when the last food plate said sparingly, add a handful of blueberries if you want to, things like that. Smoked salmon salad would be awesome. Caesar salad, taco salad, steak or salmon with cream spinach. You can add any type of nuts, pecans, cashews, walnuts, pistachios, peanuts, artisan cheese. I say artisan cheese because cheese from the block is going to be more of a whole food than cheese from the package. They're adding things to that package to get it into a shredded cheese. Where if you look at block cheese, it's just the cheese. You're not getting all the processing added to it. So if possible, and I think getting block cheese just makes it a little harder to overeat on cheese because you have to slice it up. I don't know. It is better. It just tastes better too, though. So think like cheddar. You can get a block of cheddar, Gouda, goat cheese, blue cheese, Gruyere. And you can do simple things like make a little cheese, nut, and fruit and vegetable tray of food. So it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It doesn't have to be a full meal. When we're fat fasting, you can just kind of put things together when you get hungry. Eggs are always easy to throw together. Remember your fluids, water, coffee, tea. You can add fats to those too. I mentioned the half and half, the full fat creamer. I mentioned unsweetened vanilla almond milk. You could do cashew milk. You could do any of the milk alternatives. Just make sure there's no sugar added to them. Yeah, Elizabeth, yes, a charcuterie board. That's exactly right. Except I'm not a big meat eater. Like that processed meat on charcuterie, I don't go for that. But I'm trying to think. You could do something like a rotisserie chicken salad. That would be fun. I actually did that this past week. I did a rotisserie chicken salad and I threw it over some spinach and then I added olive oil and balsamic vinegar on top. And that was a really yummy meal for the weekend. So it doesn't have to be super complicated. Um, try to make it easy on yourself when you can. All right, our goals for this week are to continue the whole foods and then incorporate the mindfulness into our meals. I want you to start adding healthy fats to your meals. I'm not asking you to fat fast, but I am asking you to think about where you could take healthy fats and incorporate them into your meals so that you stay fuller longer and that you're getting more satiety in your meals. And this will help you as you get prepared to go into fasting. Next week, we're going to talk about knocking sugar out. So that's also going to help you before you go into fasting. And then make sure to send me your tracker if you haven't yet. All right, my final tip and takeaway I'm going to put in the chat box for you, and then I'm going to look up that Jif peanut butter. Let me share my window. All right. Okay, sending you this top 20 low carb salads. Salads have never been one of my favorite things, but ever since I started fasting and taking carbs out, I do crave salads. And I will say, when you get to the point of getting bread and things out of your diet, everything tastes so much better because this is really like what you want. This is where the flavor is in the salad. Like it's the protein, it's the veggies, it's the dressing, it's all the things. Salads are really helpful. Here's a cheeseburger salad, spicy shrimp, salad sandwiches. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but we have a great little burger spot here in Oxford, and I'll get the burger and I'll get a side salad and just put the burger on top of the salad, and it's amazing. So you can pretty much make any sandwich on a menu into a salad if you just take the bun off and put it over some greens. Super easy. Taco salad, there's a cauliflower potato salad. All right, so lots of ideas. If you want to grab these or grab the link out of the chat box for more ideas. And then it just gives you a breakdown of how to build a salad. Add your veggies, choose your protein, how to do some healthy dressings. I literally drizzle olive oil and vinegar over my salads and call it a day. I don't like to get super fancy with dressings. I don't like to pre-make them and put them in the fridge. That's just not my style. It's easier for me just to do a good olive oil, balsamic vinegar, salt and pepper over whatever salad I put together. So again, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. All right, let's look at, I'm going to pull up, see if I can get on Kroger, and I'll pull up the peanut butter. So Jif reduced fat peanut butter. Okay, so first thing you want to do is go look at the ingredient list. We got peanuts, we got corn syrup solids, we got sugar, we got pea protein, and then we have fully hydrogenated vegetable oil, and then all this other stuff. You can see that's only 3 grams of added sugar. That's not bad, but why do we need all this stuff added to our peanut butter? See if I can find the one that I buy. All right, here's the one I get. It's natural. It's Kroger natural creamy peanut butter. It's $2.29. Nothing crazy. You don't have to buy the brands that want to charge $10 for peanut butter. You don't have to do that. The ingredients are roasted peanuts and salt. There's no added sugar. So you just have like a much more natural whole food product here when you compare to something like the non-fat peanut butter. And it sounds good. And then you look at the ingredient list and it's not that good. there's there's one that's better. And I will say it's hard to find. You have to really look for it. You just got to turn it over and look at the ingredient list. Peanuts and salt. All right. Any other questions? Email me or put it in the chat box. I can still answer once the class closes out, but I don't want to keep y'all over. So thanks for joining, and I hope you'll have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.